You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to today's episode. Today is all about how to bust overwhelm. I think it's something that we've all experienced, whether your list of things to do is so long, whether you know what to do and just have a hard time getting started, or whether you just feel like you're not making enough headway. Like there's so many things that it's really hard to make the progress that you want to. That is something I resonate with so much in so many ways, and I think I've really found some ways to help navigate that as I continue to learn how to do so better and better. So for all of the successful, driven, ambitious, go-getter women listening, I get that it's something that we're all facing all the time, and I want to share some ideas around. So these are things that I've collected from mentors, from trial and error, from just being on my own journey and trying to figure out what worked. And one of the things that someone once said to me that I think is so powerful is, what is one thing you can do today to move yourself forward, whether it's in life, in work, in relationships, in your health? We can all get so caught up in that master to-do list where it's hard to even do one thing. But if you can just do one thing that moves you forward today, if nothing else, at least you go to bed knowing that you moved yourself forward in your career in one way, in starting your business, in your health got a little bit better today. Remember that 1% rule where if you're in an airplane and it's changing course 1% every hour, you're not going to feel the difference in the air, but you're definitely going to be in another city, and that's going to compound and compound. And it's kind of the same with those habits. So don't feel discouraged if all you can do is just one little thing that day. I really think if you close the day out being like, you know what? I may not have gotten it all done, but I moved myself forward in this way. You can be proud of that, and you can continue to chip away at your list and to make that forward momentum. Also remember that it's like a snowball. So at first, those little changes might not feel like a lot, but as you start to get more and more taken off your plate, that's going to compound and you're going to start to feel so much more of a bigger difference. Another mentor of mine said it to the tone of, what is the one thing you can fix that would fix the most other things? So, for example, one thing that I did recently was dry June. Let me know if you want me to do an episode on that, but that was something I'd never done before. And I just thought, you know what? That is going to be a great way to help me sleep better, to feel healthier, to feel more in alignment with all the other healthy things I do every day, to feel like in the evenings, like instead of going out and getting dinner and wine with friends, like I can work on projects or I can get true rest and relaxation. I just felt like there were so many areas that could be positively impacted by an experiment like that for me, that was one decision I could make that would impact a ton of other decisions in my life positively. So for you, think about what's that one thing that you can do today to move yourself forward? That's one way to think about it. Or on more of a macro level, what is the one thing you could do that's going to impact the most other things? It's like the dominoes, right? Like what's the one domino you can push that's going to just naturally push over all the other dominoes? And then you're not thinking about all those different streams. You're not like, okay, well, I got to do this for this area and this for this area and that for that area. It's just like, what's the one thing that's going to just raise everything a little bit? Don't you love that? When she said that, I was like, oh, that is so smart. So even in business, maybe it's something like hiring an assistant. And all of a sudden, you're not having to move yourself forward, posting on social media and responding to emails and engaging with your audience and doing accounting and doing all the million things that a business requires. But you now have support to offload 5 or 6 of those smaller things. So you free up all that time, all that energy, all that mental space just from that one thing. So that's another one. What can you do to move forward, and what can you do that's going to impact the most other things just naturally? Another thing that you can remember is oftentimes procrastination is really just fear dressed up as procrastination. So whenever I'm holding off on doing something, or I feel like there's something on my list that's not that big, but I'm still resisting it, or it still stays on my list for some reason for a long time, even though it would take me 10 minutes maybe to do, I start to look at, is there some fear going on here? You can even just ask yourself, like, what am I really afraid of here? Like, what's going on? You can journal on it. So for example, I have been trying to get more comfortable for my business, like posting in Facebook groups. There's so many marketing groups on the internet, and it can be a great way to promote your offerings, to get more clients, to engage with other business owners. But that's been something on my list for a long time. And in practice, it would take me 5 minutes, right, to do that thing. However, I knew there was some fear or story in there because I was holding off on this little small item on my checklist. And so that can be a way to just be like, really, what's going on here? And my solution was either one, rework whatever I was going to promote or post so that I felt good about it and that fear was alleviated, or look at what's going on and see if that's a fear story that I want to take up space in my life. So if the fear is just around being judged, something not going well, stuff like that, to me, sometimes I look at that and I go, okay, like I see you, I appreciate you, fear, for like letting me know that that's there, that there's that danger, right? I feel uncomfortable. But is that really something that I want dictating my life? And it just almost gives you that space between the fear to feel less like that is the whole truth and that's what's running the show, and more like that's just a thought that you can choose to accept or to lovingly like let go of or shift, right? And you can give yourself affirmations to help shift that. You can talk to other people who are in the similar position and see how they got around it. You can just simply choose to like let that go and not let that run your life. And that's just a small example of how procrastination can show up really in the behind the scenes. It's like fear running the show. And so you can really just ask yourself, what am I afraid of here? Or just journal on it and see what comes up and see if you can rework that situation to either feel less fear about it or just choose to let the fear go because that's just not a story you're going to let run your life, right? One of the other things that a mentor once told me about helping prevent that overwhelm feeling is doing the most important thing first in the day. So how easy is it to have a list of things to do and to want to save the big behemoth, the thing that you're dreading or just feels big, for end of the day, right? Like you're like, let me do all these other little things first and I'll get to that. Well, really, if you start with that thing, you start with it when your energy is highest, when you're just going to face it no matter what that day, all of a sudden, all those little other things are way easier to do, right? It's almost that visual of if you have this bucket and all your tasks are like the rocks. If you fill that bucket with all the little tiny tasks like the pebbles and then try and top it with these big boulders, there's no way those are fitting in there because they're sitting on top of all of the other little rocks and there's nowhere for them to go, right? But if you reverse that and you have your bucket and you put those big rocks or boulders in first, it's very easy then to pour all the little pebbles in and everything fits. They slide right in between the cracks. It's good to go. So that's a visual. That's not how your to-do list really works, right? But it's that same feeling of what is the most important thing I need to do today? I will do that first, and then after that, your afternoon is a breeze. Like, it's so much easier. So that's another one too. It's like, what is the most important thing that I can do today? Obviously, things like making a list can help, but I feel like that's one we all turn to, right? So these are more about like when the list doesn't work, what's really going on. And these are the things I think of. It's what's one thing I can do today that will move me forward. It's what is the one thing I can change that's going to change multiple other things. What is really going on with my procrastination? What am I secretly afraid of here? And then what's the most important thing that I can do first of all out of the day? Try one of those. Try the one that speaks to you. And that alone, if you just adopt that, is going to get you out of that feeling of overwhelm. And even if you keep all these in mind, maybe you jot them down and you save this episode, different ones will work at different times. So sometimes I don't have a big behemoth thing to do that day. I have a lot of other things. And for that way, I'll just try and tackle at least one of them. And then I'm still have that forward momentum. And sometimes I feel like I'm not really resisting any of them. I just need to get through it. So in that case, procrastination isn't as much of an issue, but it's making a list or it's doing the most important one first. So these are all kind of tools that you can use in your arsenal as I do. And we can all get more done. We can be more productive. We can feel more on top of everything. So that then when we do have the time in our day to rest, to spend with our families, to travel, to recharge, to sleep, all of the things, we just know we did what we needed to that day, and we can be more present in the rest of our life and feel a little bit more balanced overall with everything. So I hope this offers a little bit of perspective and hope in that area, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Make sure to reach out to me on social media. Let me know what else you'd love to see as an episode, if there's any guests that you want on, so that we can continue to build this community of smart, driven, loving women, lifting each other up, sharing things that have worked or what doesn't work, lessons learned, and just continue to build our biggest, brightest lives. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening in. If you loved this episode, it would mean so much to me if you share it on Instagram stories and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping get the message out. I am so grateful to be on this journey with you. Until next time, talk to you soon.